It's a great day. My name is Jay Brown, the Happy Entrepreneur, and welcome to the Happy Entrepreneur Show, the #1 business development and I will say revenue-focused late night show in the country, where we're on a mission, by the way. And our mission really is to empower. Our mission is to inspire. And our mission is to provide you, that's right, you, the hard-working entrepreneur, with all of the resources that are necessary to execute that big vision you have for the people you were called to serve. And on this episode, we have the one and only Dr. Leslie Gordon. She's in the building, and she'll be talking about vision. She'll be talking, or really voice first, and then your vision, and then your values. We talking about voice again? We want to figure this out. What's going on, Doc? How you doing?
Hi there, Jay. It's great to be with you.
Well, it's great to be with you as well. So thank you so much for being here, ladies and gentlemen. She's a rock star. You're going to find out in a moment. But before we get started, because people are going to read your bio and they'll see how famous you are. Somebody's already been to your website and they'll see how great you are. And others, they'll meet you for the first time. So we'll get into her background. But first, we're talking about voice. And I've got to ask the question. I don't want to sound too sarcastic here, but why are people struggling these days to get their voice out, their message out, whether they're an entrepreneur or they work in a corporate space or an organization, when today they have AI? They can just go type in AI, this is what I like to say, and it tells them what to say. So why are people still struggling getting their voice out?
Because I think that we've forgotten that the voice, the great tool that is the voice, is still a powerfully human a thing. It's an energy that comes from the human body. It's the mind, the voice, the body all together, and it's been our tool for connection for eons. And AI can do a lot of things for us. In fact, we might talk at some point about some of the things it's doing in the voice world, but we still need that human connection. And I think the pace of our world and the pace of content and the pace of communication is so rapid that we've let it overtake what is essentially our greatest tool for connection, and that's the actual human voice. Yeah, I think that's it.
What do you say to the entrepreneurs listening right now? And just so you know, a lot of our audience are dualpreneurs. They work a full-time job and they're full-time entrepreneurs. Shout out to all of you 9-to-5 millionaires, by the way.
Yes, go get it. Go get it.
And they're out there and they're saying, hey, wait a minute, Shay, she has a voice for entrepreneurs, but, and I know it's gonna sound crazy, but I still have a fear of speaking. And am I the only one out there? Because it seems today you've got to say something to somebody. So here's the crazy question. In today's world, do you believe people still have a fear of speaking? And if so, why?
Oh, so many. More than we might have ever known have a fear of speaking. And I think that there's also a fear of revealing that you have a fear of speaking. And it goes back to what we were saying before. We produce things so quickly. We are putting our content out there. We are putting our expertise out there. We are faced to the world. There's probably a weakness in saying, I'm afraid of speaking. I'm afraid of being public with my voice. And I know so many entrepreneurs, yes, but also people who are grounded in careers that are decades long in organizations and corporations, what have you, that have never taken the time to slow down and work on this skill, because some of them have said to me, I don't want people to know I'm afraid of that I'm afraid of showing up to speak. Or what might be more often the truth, I think people need to have the assumption about me that I can do it, because it goes with the picture of success. So internally, people stay struggling. They continue to struggle. They continue to beat themselves up about how they speak after they've shown up to speak. And they continue to have dread and anxiety over it, when it's needless to continue to be that way. But I think there are even more people than in decades and centuries past that say they fear speaking.
They fear speaking. I love that, by the way. And I promise, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to get into her backstory. I know some of you're meeting her for the first time. Like, say, who is this person talking? She's making sense, and it's going to turn into sense, making sense and sense. And we'll get into that in a moment. But first, before we do that, what do you say to the person that's a leader right now? A number of folks say, I've got to speak to my team. I got to speak as my organization. I'm leading other folks. Is there one or two ideas you share with them? Because they're looking really to build a deeper connection with people they're leading as an organization or as a team. What would you say to that person? Because what they're leading has to be in connection with the values of the organization. Does that make sense? So here's the question. Is there one or two ideas you would share with those folks that they can build a deeper connection when they're having conversation with a group of their team members?
Yeah. I think that there are two things when you talk about putting voice to vision. I think part of that is messaging, and that is some of the work I do, defining what is your purpose in your communication, what effect you're trying to have on someone, what actions or product that you're trying to lead someone to, or output that you're trying to lead someone to. That's part of it. That's a more abstract way of thinking about it. But then there's also the physicality and the energy production when you're actually vocally leading a team. And that's when the physical presence is so important, because we all know, we've all had leaders who seem a bit disembodied from what they're saying. They might have the right message, but it's not landing. And I think that comes from knowing your audience, not making assumptions, knowing your people, knowing who's listening to you, but knowing how to vocally land that message so that they not only hear you, but they feel you. And that's where I come in.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, she's not going to leave you hanging there. Don't worry. I'm going to get to her backstory. You said they have to hear you and feel you. Can we do a little deep dive? Can you tell us a little more about what you mean by that? And some of you might want to lean forward. At least I'm leaning forward right now. Hearing and feel you. Talk about the difference if you can, just so we can all be on the same page, because hearing and feeling means different things to different people.
That's right. Well, we can be moved by words, we can be moved by a message, but the real goodness comes when you are moved by someone's energy sent in your direction. And here's a little something for you. And speech is energy made audible. So our energy emanates from our mind, our body, and it comes out through our voice. And so if that voice is sending a signal that originates that's in a body or a mind that's somehow disconnected from the moment or the people, it's less of a signal. It doesn't reach, it doesn't land, it doesn't move people. But when that voice comes from a place that is connected and open and actively seeking to connect with another being, that's when a voice is powerful, and that's when leaders not only lead but inspire and influence, when they have that voice.
Leaders inspire and influence. Love it, by the way. Double alliteration. I love it. The moment y'all been waiting for. Some of you, you're cooking in the kitchen right now. I get it. You're like, Shay, this is playing in the background, but I love what I'm hearing. Someone else has got the podcast going right now. You're like, whoa. And some of you, maybe we're on your big screen TV. Hey. But however you listen to this right now and you're able to tune in, you may not have read her bio. So we're going to slow down, then we'll speed back up. You know the question. Obviously, they want to know, no matter how famous you are, what's the backstory of who you are? And then what was that defining moment in your journey that you made that decision and said, you know what? I'm going to help people be able to get their voice out and be able to lead other folks.
Well, I'll say I made that decision twice, and I'll just use that as a tease, and then I'll get into the backstory, and then I'll try to come back and explain the two moments. But the backstory is that I am the card carrying, lifelong lover of speech and language and accents, to be really specific. I have been just in love with the way language shapes us, the way we use it to shape our existence, and how we can adapt to many different forms, whether that's a language or an accent or a style. And it's just, to me, it's always been the ultimate expression, and I've always been deeply, deeply curious. How can I know more? How can I do more? How can I speak other languages? How can I modify my voice? How can I move into this community and into that community by making the changes through the way I sound? And that started early, early with me, and has just been a common theme. And I've done other things. I went into higher education, and I had other opportunities, and I sort of moved away from languages and speech, which have always been my first love. And then I had a moment that brought me back to it and made me realize I still have this gift, and I'm starting to understand it in new ways. And the way that I need to be using it to serve people, that's a business, and that's a big change for me. And so when I became an entrepreneur, it was a huge leap. And that was really the second time I realized speech and voice, that's it, that's my thing, and I've got to lean back in and serve people through this thing that I have, this talent and understanding that I have. And that was really the second time. I think the first time when I was young and I had an aha moment as a young person, and then when I decided to leave a successful and prosperous career. I was going places, but I decided to leave it to do what I do now, and that was a big scary jump. It's still scary sometimes.
And what do you enjoy about what you're doing now? You've taken the leap. You're doing it. What do you enjoy most about that?
I really enjoy seeing people come out. I enjoy seeing them unlock something that they've had pushed down in them for a while because of self doubt, self judgment, perception of judgment, anticipation of judgment, or negative reaction about the way they speak. And they keep their possibilities pushed down in ways they don't even realize. And when we discover how beautiful and powerful voice and speaking are, things come out that people didn't know. And it's beautiful, and sometimes it's scary. I've seen people in front of me just stop and their eyes get wide, and sometimes tears come because they're tapping into a power they either didn't know they had or had long since forgotten. And that's when it's both joy and privilege and a sacred space for me to be part of that process. It's wonderful.
Wow, how
And then the
powerful is
entrepreneur's
that?
voice, yeah, and the entrepreneur's voice especially, because you're doing something, you're pushing through something to build something, and there's a power and a creativity there, and an energy that you need to bring forth. And if you can bring it through your voice to reach the people that you're serving through what you do, then you're unstoppable. And I think that's what I find joy in reminding people of, that you can go from silent to unshakable, unstoppable. You just have to pull it out.
Just pull out and make it happen, by the way, man. Thanks so much for
That's
sharing.
right.
Now, let's connect the dots because we're talking about vision. Talking about voice, vision, and values. Did I get that right in that the order? Is that the right
Yeah.
order?
Well, yeah.
Close enough for government work, huh? And I'm joking, joking.
I say that
So,
all.
but take a moment and talk about what do you mean when you say vision? Because it means different things to
Mhm.
different people. And then what do you mean when you
Sure.
say values? Because again, as an entrepreneur, that means different things, different people. So we can be on the same page. And then we'll talk about how those two connect back into helping you get your voice out there.
Right. So, starting with vision, I would give two synonyms for vision, and that is your goals or what you're trying to build. So, for the entrepreneur, you're building something, and you have an idea in mind, you have a vision in mind, with more or less shape depending on the person and where they are in that journey. But you're headed to a place of creativity and building and empowerment. And so you've got that vision out there. The values piece is, you're ideally building that vision on your values, right? There are values driven businesses and entities out there. But I would say that in my world, a synonym for values is the you at your core, right? Your authentic self. So what is it that makes you tick? What is it that raises your energy level? What is it that makes you connect with other people as you do what you do? Those are in the values camp for me. And then voice is the vehicle that carries all of that and that ties those together as you head for that vision, and as you're doing it as you, your authentic self, and bringing along other people into your vision and on that path with you to the thing you're building, you're telling that story and you're connecting with people with your voice. And if all of those things are aligned, then people will follow you. People will need you, and people will go with you.
Need you, go with you, and follow you. I love it, by the way. I love what you're doing because at the end of the day, ladies and gentlemen, once you become a master communicator, which is just getting to, it opens up the whole flood for the world out there. Now,
Mhm.
this is the question I know some of you have been waiting for, by the way, and we'll get into today's my January 1st in a moment, but you might be wondering, what's your view of the world connecting like we are now through the power of these fiber optic lines, let's say digitally? and versus being on the stage, because there's some folks say I can only do my jam and feel connected when I'm on a live stage, and there's other folks saying, well, wait, I can only do my jam when I'm on a virtual stage. Take a moment and talk about how both are required these days, and what's your view in the world on connecting virtually. And it's a loaded question, ladies and gentlemen. You can't get into all the details, obviously, but your one or two ideas connecting virtually, and your one or two ideas of connecting when you're on a live stage with an audience that's there. I know there are two, but it seems to me the worlds have just kind of come together. But what's your view of the world?
They have, and I think to be a well-rounded communicator, you should be able to show up in both spaces. You will have a
Good answer.
preference. But I think, yeah, and it's not a surprise what you said, that there are some people say it's my jam to be in the virtual space, or others who say I have to be live in the room and feeding off of the people. That comes down to um, your, what I would call, that's your preferred energy state. And a word I'll throw out there that everybody knows is that's your presence. Some people have a presence that wants to be out there. They want to be projecting across a distance, reaching people, a little further out, taking up more space with that vocal energy. Some people like to have that vocal energy stay somewhat close to them. And so that might be the reason that some people prefer a virtual space, because it's a space that can be defined. They can see it, they can be within it, they don't have to take up a ton of space. And like you said, others want to just be on that stage and taking up as much room as possible. When those two types come together, interestingly enough, sometimes there's a battle. I mean, if you've ever seen someone who's very, very present, has that large presence, they'll sort of overtake the one that doesn't take up a lot of space. Or if someone who likes to be in a smaller space and energy field, if they need to express themselves, they're going to have to kind of knock down the wall of the person who has more energy by nature. And so sometimes there's a battle taking place there. That sweet spot in the middle, right? That's where we all want to be, where my energy meets your energy. We're not fighting each other. We're not having to pull each other out. But that's a skill. And that's something that takes time and understanding of yourself, but understanding of other people as well. And I think it's certainly in the entrepreneurial space, you have to be aware of that to be a good communicator, to know that the way I prefer to communicate, with how much energy and flow and engagement, it's not the same as someone else. And we have to be able to read that in another person so that we can make those critical adjustments to land the message the way it needs to be landed, received by the person that we need to hear us. Yeah, so that's a level of understanding that's always a work in progress for every human. Mhm.
Yeah, so very true, by the way. That leads to a segment here that we have at the Happy Entrepreneur Show called Today is My January 1st. Now, I know for some of you, you wait for this magical moment. You wait to say these words. Every night at 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, you get to say the words, Today is my January 1st. You can go ahead and say those words right now. I know that feels so good. Happy New Year to you, by the way. And for all the folks who are joining us for the very first time, welcome to the Happy Entrepreneur Show family. We're glad you're here. Without you, we don't have a show, by the way. Today is my January 1st is our personal mantra. It represents a fresh start. It represents a do-over. It means our past, no matter how dark and gloomy that past is, or really how bright and sunny that past is, the past really no longer equals the future. And so my question for Dr. Leslie on the other side is that two things. First, when you just hear the words, today is my January 1st, what kind of goes through your mind? And then number two, was there ever a setback or a challenge you had in your life that along this journey as an entrepreneur that you had to bounce back from? What pops top of mind to you?
Yeah. Well, I love that. Today is January 1st. If we all treat every day like it's January 1st, then it's a fresh start. It's new energy. It's a new vision, perhaps, or an adjusted vision. I love that. I'm gonna put that one in my pocket, Che. I'm gonna have to use that one. Reset my calendar every day. Every day is January 1st. I would say that I can definitely think of a setback moment, and I can also think of a January 1st moment. I'm not sure which one you want to hear first. Do you want to let me know?
Whichever one you want to use, the choice is yours. We're always interested to see if there was ever a challenge you had and how were you able to bounce back. So yeah, whichever one
All right,
works
so,
best for
so
you.
I will say that my January 1st moment came before my setback moment, which
Whoa,
might not
okay.
be
This is
the way
cool.
you usually hear it, right? Okay,
Yeah.
so The January 1st moment was when it came in that period when I was really struggling to, first of all, own my own voice in the space where I was, when I was back in my academic career. And then I was also trying to birth this business. And I was sort of hiding in the shadows with it. I was doing all the research, thinking it to death, the way an overthinker does, and really scared to make the leap and to be vocal about what I wanted in the next chapter of my life. And my January 1st was a day in August, I think. And this was probably about 2018 or 17, and I was at a conference of voice professionals, and I met a woman. It's one of those hallway conversations, and I talk about this all the time because it was really significant for me. I was there just to learn and soak up, but I was there feeling like a big imposter, and
Mm.
really struggling to show up and to speak for myself. And I met a woman. We had maybe 10-word exchange, and she asked me about my accent, and I immediately kind of pulled in, speaking of that energy earlier, I sort of pulled back and I apologized because she was asking if I had a southern accent, and I was apologetic. And she got right in my face about it and said, "Why would you ever apologize for your voice? It's part of your story. Would you apologize for your story?" And I had no answer. And the fact that I had no answer meant that she was right and I was being pushed. And so I left there realizing that I was being a big old hypocrite to say that I wanted to empower other people if I was hiding behind my own voice. And so that was my January 1st. It was time to get real. And so that's what I did. And she's a friend and a mentor now. And I love to tell that story about her. I don't know if she realizes how often I tell that story about her, but I'm so grateful for that moment. And then my setback moment was a few years later, but about, I don't know, 3, 4 years ago, when I was, what was the term you used? Duopreneurs. I was still in two worlds.
Dualpreneur, yeah. Full time
Yeah,
job,
yeah.
full time entrepreneur.
That was me. That was me. And really starting to feel the tension. I couldn't do both, right? And being pulled more toward the business and serving the people looking for their voices. And it was beginning to be really an emotional and a physical tension within me to not be doing that. And so I finally worked up the courage to leave that role, to leave that world. And I resigned on, let's say, a Tuesday. And then the very next week, I signed a contract to go back into the same world and do some teaching as a get by kind of thing. Like, I'll just get a little cash flow while I'm doing the thing. And what I was doing was jumping back in with both feet. It was a different role and a different department and slightly different use of my skills, but I was just going backwards. And I slugged it out for an academic year, but it was tough because even more than I had felt previously, I was just feeling that urge to be doing the other thing and feeling that every moment that I wasn't there was time lost for me and for the people that I could be helping. I could feel that stagnation. And so the comeback then was at the end of that year, when I'd met my commitment to say, this is the line in the sand. I'm jumping. It's going to work or it's going to be a fun failure, but we're doing this thing. Yeah, that was it.
Man, you're so transparent. You're so authentic. Thanks for sharing and opening up with us and the audience. We really, really appreciate that. One of the questions I'd like to ask, we have a few minutes, I think we have a few minutes now, is what's one of the best pieces of advice you've ever been given? And I'll frame it for the audience so they understand you're not coming off the mountain with the 10 Commandments, okay? You've read more books than you can probably remember these days. I'm sure you watch more videos and had more mentors than you can probably even
Yes.
recall in 10,000 hours. What a joke, by the way. We can do that with our thumb on the weekend these days. So
That's
my
right.
question to you is, if you had to step back, say, man, here's one of the best pieces of advice been given to me that I just want to pass on to the audience. What would it be and why?
I think it was something that actually my dad told me when I was starting my first career in the academic world. And he said, say yes as often as you can and then learn to make it work. And the point he was making was you want to be of use to people. and you'll learn. And at the time, I was in a new environment and I hadn't really built anything yet, and I was feeling a little bored and wondering if I was doing the right thing. And he told me that, and he said, "I promise you, in a year, you'll have so much going on, you'll wish you had some free time." And it was true. And I keep going back to that because in the entrepreneurial journey, there's so much to learn and there's so much to figure out, and every day presents a new challenge. And I find myself wanting to say, no, not today. I don't have time. This doesn't feel right. But then every now and then I catch myself remembering that advice. And I think maybe this is something I should say yes to because there's something to be learned in this opportunity or this space. And that actually aligns very much with, it's funny to be thinking of it all these years later. Thank you for asking me the question, because one of the things that I do when I'm helping people rediscover their voice and unlock their voice and their authentic expression is I take them back to a place of curiosity and discovery. And true curiosity and exploration is all about yes. There is no no. It's what can I do here? What can I find? What can I say yes to that might teach me something? And so I have to remind myself every now and then to do the same. Approach something with a yes and see what it can teach me.
I love it. Well said, by the way. As we come down the home stretch, two-part question. The first question I really have is, what do you do for fun when you're not out saving the world, helping people share their voice? What do you do in your downtime just to have fun?
Um, I watch any movie or television show with good accent work in it because I am an accent person, accent expert, and I do that work. And then I latch on to a good one, and then my family will tell you for the next 3 days I'm speaking Irish or whatever, and narrating the dogs in some accent or dialect or whatever. That's always fun to me. Endless fun to go down accent rabbit holes. And then I exercise somewhat inconsistently these days because the entrepreneurial life kind of dictates my day. But when I can, I love to go blow off some steam, get a good sweat going, and push myself that way as well. Yeah.
How cool is that, by the way? Well, as we come down the home stretch, two-part question to close it out. Number one, what type of clients is your firm looking to work with these days, if any? I'm not sure if your firm's taking on any clients. And number two, how can folks best connect with you? Like, how can they stay in this conversation with you over and beyond today? It's like, man, did they go to a website? Did they go to a Facebook page? Like, where did they go just to connect with you and learn more about you and how your service can help them?
Yeah, thank you. Well, these days I'm doing a lot more group experiences, which would be on-site trainings. It can be virtual trainings, but half day, full day trainings. They're very experiential. I draw from my old days in the classroom doing active teaching and innovative pedagogy. I'm always getting people doing something, trying something. So I'm doing a lot more on-site trainings to go in and train not only individuals, but to train their leaders and their colleagues, because a group learning experience is really powerful. And so I like to go in when possible and be in the environment and provide these trainings around voice and expression and communication and presence. And then hopefully by next year, my business model will include a one or maybe 2 times a year retreat, an in-depth experience for people to come in and really explore in depth their expressive power, their voice, their presence, and to make some big strides in a place that's built for curiosity and exploration and reflection. So that's coming. So hopefully when you catch me next year, that's what I'll be doing. But you can find me at my website. It's lesliegordonspeech.com. Same thing for Instagram. I'm on Facebook. I'm most active on LinkedIn. I think that's Leslie Gordon PhD is the handle there. So that's where you'll see me most often talking about my clients and their challenges and what I'm offering in terms of courses or experiences. So yeah, that's probably the best place to catch me most frequently is on LinkedIn.
And she does respond, ladies and gentlemen. I know for sure she's here. So thank you. She responds herself. You will get her. It's kind of weird. Sometimes you just get an auto machine thing. But first,
Oh no,
and nothing wrong with those. I'm not putting anyone down. That's because some of y'all know
it's a tool.
you know,
It's a tool.
but it's kind of cool when you still get a personal touch. I'm like, whoa, that's kind of cool. But let me say thank you so much for being on the Happy Entrepreneur Show. I know you can always make more money, but you can't make more time. And you give us the most precious resource you have, which is your time. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Jay. It's been a joy. Great to see you.
Thank you. And thank you to viewers. Thank you for tuning in, by the way, because without you, well, we don't have a show, by the way. So I never get tired of reminding you every night at 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, no matter what's going on in your life, by the way, whether you're doing really, really well and you're getting to that next level of success or joy, fulfillment, whatever you want to call it, or whether you've been hit with the punch that you never saw coming and you're on the comeback trail. The one thing I do believe is that today is your January 1st. And because of just that one reason alone, I believe your best is still yet to come. Your best is yet to come. Your best is yet to come. With that being said, my name hasn't changed. It's still Che Brown, the Happy Entrepreneur. We out of here. Thanks a lot, Leslie. You're amazing. You're Dr. Leslie. You're amazing. You're incredible. We'll see y'all on the other side. Peace until we meet again.